Bunnicula and Friends Hot Fudge, Book 2 by James Howard. Chapter 1, Sweet Dreams. My name is Harold. I am a dog. I live with the Monroes, Toby and Pete, and Mr. and Mrs. Monroe. Toby is my favorite Monroe. He lets me sleep in his bed, and he lets me share his snacks. Friday night are special. Toby gets to stay up late, reads books, and he eats snacks. The books aren't bad, but the snacks are delicious. Chocolate is my favorite. Toby says chocolate is my favorite too. I get to have only a little bit though. That's because Mr. and Mrs. Monroe read in a book once that chocolate might not be good for dogs. So Toby let me lick the sticky brown chocolate off his fingers. That way he won't get sticky brown smudges on the pages of his library books. Good job, Harold, he says. For some reason, they don't like sticky brown smudges down at the library. When Toby gets tired, he brushes his teeth. Then he turns out the light and says, "Good night, Harold. Sweet dreams." And that's exactly what I have. Sweet dreams filled with sweet chocolate. But this Friday night was different. Toby said good night like always. Then he whispered in the dark, "Wait until tomorrow, Harold. Yum, yum, just wait." Now I love to sleep almost every day. I love to eat. That is the only reason I was able to fall asleep that night. Yum, yum, yum. Just wait. What did Toby mean? Chapter 2. No yum yum. All night long I dreamed about chocolate. In the morning I woke up thinking about chocolate. I could almost taste it. I could almost smell it. Hey, I can smell it, I said to myself. Fudge. Mr. Monroe was making his famous fudge. Yum yum. That's what Toby meant that night before. I jumped out of bed and rushed downstairs. Mr. Monroe was in the kitchen mixing up the fudge. My friends Chester and Howie were there too. They were busy eating their breakfast. "Chester, Howie," I yelled. "What's the matter now?" Chester gulped. "How can you eat that stuff when there's fudge in the air?" "Because the fudge is in the air, not in our bowls, and we're hungry," Chester said. Chester thinks he's so smart, but he had a point. "Move over," I said. I was hungry too, especially after all my chocolate dreams. I wolfed down my food. Then I started begging Howie, "Join me." Howie joined me. We whimpered, we whined, we rolled over, we wagged our tails, we tried to look cute. Nothing worked. Have you no shame?" Chester asked. We're dogs," I explained. "Begging is one of the things dogs do best." "Well, I'm glad I'm a cat," Chester said, as if rubbing up against people's legs when you want something is any better, I replied. Chester stuck up his nose and walked away. I went back to begging. "Nice try, guys," Mr. Monroe said at last, "but this fudge isn't for you." Howie and I looked at each other. "Not for us? What did he mean?" I tried one more time. A whimper, a whine, and a wag. But Mr. Monroe was one tough cookie. He put the pan of fudge on the kitchen counter to cool, and all we got was a pat on the head. Chapter 3, Along with the Fudge. After the Monroes finished their breakfast, things got crazy. Everyone started running around and shouting and banging doors. "I'm going to be late," Petey said. Petey yelled. "I'm going to be late," Toby screamed. "We're all going to be late," Miss Monroe sighed. It was a typical Saturday morning. Chester and Howie and I just tried to stay out of the way. At last, Mr. Monroe called, "Let's go," and everybody headed out the door. "Goodbye, Harold. Goodbye, Chester. Goodbye, Howie. And goodbye, Bunnicula." Bunnicula is the other pet in the Monroe family. He's a bunny. Chester says he's a vampire bunny. Now that the Monroes were gone, the house got really quiet. Howie and I found ourselves alone in the kitchen, alone with a plate of fudge. "Do you think we are being tested?" Howie asked. "Yes," I said, "and we're about to flunk. Let's get out of here." We ran to find Chester. He was in his favorite chair reading the newspaper. There's something you should know about Chester. He likes to read. It gives him a lot of funny ideas. Sometimes those funny ideas get us into trouble. "Listen to this," Chester gasped. "There is a burglar on the loose, and he's been stealing things in this neighborhood." So I asked, "So we are going to have to guard the house?" Chester cried. "That's what pets are for." "I thought pets are for loving and snuggling and rolling around on the floor," I said. "Yes, but we're also supposed to guard the house," Chester replied. "I'd rather snuggle," Howie whimpered. So would I. But I knew it was impossible to argue with Chester. Once his mind is made up, that's the end of it. So Howie guarded the front door. Chester went to the upstairs window. I sat by the kitchen door, near the fudge. Chapter 4, Two Big Men. If you must know, guarding a house is pretty boring. In no time I was sound asleep. I was having the most wonderful dream when something woke me up. It was a big bang. "Chester," I yelped. Chester came running. I heard it, he said. Howie poked his head in the door. "Hear what?" he asked with a yawn. "Hear what?" I couldn't help it. I yawned too. "Don't tell me you two have been sleeping," Chester cried. "Okay, we won't tell you," Howie said. "They should call them dog naps, not cat naps." Chester sniffed. Then his eyes got very big. "Don't you know what has happened?" he gasped. Howie and I looked at each other and shook our heads. "The burglar has been here," Chester screamed. "The fudge is missing." "Missing," I gasped. "Stolen," said Chester. "Stolen?" Howie asked. "You mean it's hot fudge?" "Yes," Chester cried. "But the burglar can't be far away. Let's get him." We were just about to dash out of the pet door when something caught my eye. It was the pan of fudge, but it was on the windowsill instead of on the counter. "Wait," I said. "Fudge isn't gone. It just moved." "Who moved it?" Chester asked. "I don't know, but let's see if it's all gone. If it's all still there or gone," I suggested. I put my front paws on the windowsill and looked at the pan. I could hardly believe my eyes. It's turned white. I said. "White?" Chester gasped. Now we know who's been messing with the fudge. Chester dashed through the door into the living room. Howie and I were behind him. Is he really a vampire? Howie asked. Howie wasn't around when the Monroes first brought Bunnicula home. Is he really a vampire? Chester repeated. Do dogs like bones? Howie and I looked at each other. Yes, we both answered. Well, Bunnicula really is a vampire bunny. He sucks the juice out of wet vegetables and turns them white. I've never seen any white vegetables, Howie said. That's because the last time it happened was before you came to live with us, Howie. Now the Monroes gave him vegetable juice, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't attack vegetables if he had the chance, Chester said. Howie looked confused. I knew how he felt. It was often confusing talking to Chester. But why would Bunnicula attack the fudge, I said. Maybe he was a sweet fang, Chester said. But what about the bang we heard? I wanted to know before anyone could answer. There was another loud bang. He rushed back to the kitchen. This time the fudge was really gone. Chapter 5. The Candy Burglar. We all rushed out of the pet door. There he is, Chester shouted. The burglar was running down the street. He was dressed in a strange white coat and a white hat. We chased after him. What kind of thief would steal candy anyway? I wanted to know. A candy burglar? Chester yelled. A candy burglar, Chester yelled. As we ran, Howie yipped out, warning to the neighbors, guard your gumdrops. Lock up your licorice. We've almost got him, Chester cried. We were closing on him. We had him. The candy burglar had fallen. We had captured. Toby, what's the matter with you guys? Toby cried. Are you nuts? When he started laughing. Just nuts about chocolate, Harold? Toby gave me a pat. Well, if it's chocolate you want, follow me. We followed him to the end of the block. I could hardly believe my eyes. There, right in front of the library, were tables covered with cakes and cookies, candies and cupcakes, and chocolate. Everywhere we were in such a rush this morning, we forgot the fudge. Toby was saying, isn't this cool? I wish I could eat everything, don't you, Harold? I didn't know whether to whimper or pant. I did both. That still doesn't explain the two bangs, Chester mumbled. Toby seemed to understand. I could only carry one pan at a time. So I had to make 2 trips, he said. He put the pan of fudge on the table with all the other pans of fudge. That still doesn't explain why the fudge is white, Chester grumbled. I guess you guys deserve a treat, Toby said. Try some of this, Dad says. It's a new recipe, white chocolate fudge. White chocolate fudge? I looked at Chester. So, you think Bunnicula has a sweet fang? Do you? Chester shrugged and changed the subject. If you ask me if it's not brown, it's not chocolate, he said. If you ask me, cat's way too fuzzy. Toby gave each of us a little taste. Yum, yum. Yum yum, Howie said. Yum yum, I sighed. Yum yum, Chester. I'd rather have catnip, Chester sniffed. That night there were leftovers. It wasn't Friday, but it was special sweet dreams, Harold Toby said, and that's just what I had sweet dreams of. The